AI is the future. AI is going to make every workload, every aspect of kind of doing your work in a productive way more productive. And it's a productivity tool, it's a productivity hack, and it just seems like the same way that people had to be on the internet. Eventually in the early 2000s, everyone has to be utilizing AI in one way or another. If they don't, they're just going to fall behind.
Hi, I'm Adam Gower, founder of GowerCrowd.com, where we help real estate syndicators find more investors. Welcome to the Easy Win AI Real Estate Show, exploring AI's impact on the real estate industry. Each episode offers practical tools, competitive AI strategies, and expert insights. For essential news and updates, visit easywin.ai and sign up for our free newsletter with actionable how-tos like how I added hours to my day by creating this clone of me you're watching and listening to right now. easywin.ai, the only newsletter you need on real estate and AI. All right, now back to the real me. My guest today is Avi Solomon, who is founder and CEO of PulseCRE.com. Avi's background is institutional, and you're going to hear him talking about the way that larger organizations, commercial real estate organizations, often deliver information to prospective investors. They either have a deal room, which is just a list of documents, or gasp, they actually email those documents. I've been the recipient of many of those, and it is brain damage. So what Avi has done is he's developed a platform that makes consuming those data significantly easier and much more user-friendly. And what's cool about my conversation with Avi today is that partway through, we do a screen share of his platform. So you can take a look at that as he walks you through it. If you've not already signed up for our newsletter, please do that at easywin.ai. We provide all kinds of really cool practical tips, tactics, and how-tos on how to integrate AI with your regular daily real estate activities. All right, let's get on with it. Avi Solomon, founder and CEO at PulseCRE. Here he is. Avi, how nice to meet you. I think your LinkedIn posts are absolutely hilarious. It's funny that there are so many people just don't get it. It's, that, I didn't realize that you had an English accent and had lived there, but it's that kind of dry English wit that seems to go past Americans. But let me ask you a question before we get started.
Yeah.
Actually, in order to get started.
Okay.
So what is PulseCRE? You founded this company, you're now CEO. Tell me about the story behind PulseCRE. How has it evolved? Why did you start it? What's its mission, etc.?
Sure, I would love to. Appreciate you having me on, Adam. I really do. PulseCRE started because I was kind of in my previous career an investment broker, right? So I ran the capital markets team at a couple of different brokerages, and I was spending my day basically sending, huge deals, sometimes deals north of $100 million, to investors. And what continually frustrated me was the really kind of outdated technology that was being used in the process of sharing the information with an investor, right?
So what did that look like? What was?
Yeah, great question. So it was basically an email that kind of would be sent to an investor with 10 attachments in it. One of them was an OM, and that OM often didn't even fit into the email, so it was kind of linked, and it was 50 pages long plus. And it was spreadsheets, and it was term sheets, and it was signed PSAs, and it was this and that, right? All sorts of different things just kind of flung into an email and thrown at the lap of an investor, and you're like, here you go, just read all of this stuff and figure it out, and of course, the vast majority of investors didn't even get past that hurdle, right? And what I just kept seeing over and over again was that investors wouldn't take the time to, get to know a deal because they just couldn't be bothered. There was just too much. They were receiving tens, maybe hundreds of deals in a week, and the vetting process started before they even read much of the information, and that just seemed ridiculous to me, quite honestly. And I figured, our ability to communicate has evolved so much technologically since email and PDF were created.
Since 5 years ago. Are you kidding me? It's
exactly
since last month.
Yeah, none of these technologies are from this millennia,
right.
From this century. I mean, it's mental.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I sought out, what I kind of sought to fix, right? And I have some tech background. I partnered with a tech friend of mine, and we basically said, okay, we're gonna build a product, we're gonna build a platform that enables GPs to communicate in a really strong way with investors, their deal, which obviously is a complex set of information, right? And that was, I guess, part of the problem really was that GPs, real estate professionals, had to basically choose if they were going to communicate their deal with clarity or with detail. It was very difficult to find a balance between the two, right? Because of the fact that technology is essentially just pieces of paper, right, in digital form. It's very difficult to present something that is both clear and concise, but also, captures the detail and intricacies that a deal, deals are complex things. It's very difficult to kind of strike that balance using the old technology. And we basically said, okay, we're gonna create a way to present those to kind of do both of those things at the same time, right? Clarity and detail. And we came up with this concept that we're trying to achieve, which is depth, right? We're trying to achieve something which is, you can, if you kind of envision a swimming pool like this, or something that is kind of three-dimensional, right? You're able to understand it in a clear way, but also you're able to dive in. And that was kind of what we're trying to achieve with the product that we came up with Pulse. And we call it a touch point technology. And that's kind of the idea, is creating this thing that acts as the touch point between GP and investor, that enables that touch point to be super clear, as few kind of areas of resistance as possible, getting investors to not just kind of actually read it, right? Which obviously, as I said before, is the first hurdle, but also to understand it really quickly.
Okay,
right?
So how do you do that?
Okay, great.
And I kind of wonder if you do it the way that I have concocted in my mind while you've been talking. But before I go there, I'm going to ask you, how do you do it? And how do you do it? And what's it like from the investor's perspective?
It's a great question. And the answer is, we do it kind of utilizing technologies that you and I are actually probably very used to. So we were inspired a lot by social media, and by kind of, website design and stuff like that. And a lot of UX design on platforms that you see today around. And it basically is a platformized version of your deck, right? So each section has its own kind of area within the deck, and there are a whole bunch of different ways where consolidation and depth kind of occurs. So all the way from things like multimedia content, right, where you could have a kind of a drone, so a set of drone footage that again tells you the story of the deal in a very concise space, but with a lot of depth, right? Our text boxes are scrollable, and we have the ability to utilize Google Maps within it, and you can embed your spreadsheet, so all of your underwriting can literally be embedded into the deck itself. So we have a lot of different ways of integrating technologies that you would utilize external to the deck potentially, but have it literally inside the deal. It lives in the deal. It makes the deal deep.
It's like an advanced data room. Would you describe it that way? Is that?
You could say that.
Like an easy to access data room.
Yeah. So it's certainly that in a sense, because we do have a data room inbuilt within it with the ability to add documents and download documents and stuff like that. So there's definitely the functionality of data room, but also it's a marketing tool, right? It is a way of, maybe kind of think of it this way. It's the way for an investor to do due diligence on a deal without them having to leave the deal, right? Everything that you would need from that you can possibly have digitally that has to do with the deal exists within the kind of Pulse version of that deal.
Okay. So now you did ask me, is this podcast being edited? And I said, no, we don't do that. So I am going to ask you a question that I hope isn't an awkward one, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go for it.
What is your, so how are you using AI to enhance this experience, both for sponsors and investors?
Sure. So I wouldn't describe us as an AI company. We definitely utilize AI tools. We use AI copilots when it comes to creating really cool elements that we put into the deck, right?
So describe what that might look like.
So what that might look like is if you have an interactive graph within a deck, right? The AI copilot is able to understand the data, process the data, and put it into a really cool graph in a very quick, interesting, intriguing way, right? So that kind of stuff. So we use it as kind of a coding copilot in terms of putting together a deck to make it really dynamic and really deep. And we also are working on, so we don't have this in the works yet, but we're working on it, is creating essentially an AI copilot for investors to ask about the deal.
That's where I was hoping you were going to go.
I was going to say,
all right, so I'm going to just I'm just going to describe a concept for that one person in the audience who doesn't realize it, or doesn't really understand it. The idea of Chat GPT or LLMs in general is that you chat with them. You can chat with them. You can ask questions of the technology and you can just have a conversation, right? What's this? What's that? How about something else, etc. So is that the direction you're going in, that you would upload everything into one location and have a chat box or bar that basically says, okay, what do you want to know about everything here? Give me a summary of the returns, or where are the risks, or whatever?
Yeah, in a way. I think the way that we would design it would be having the chat option kind of, on the side or alongside the deck. I don't think people are quite ready for, all you have is a search bar and and that,
access to the docs. But I was thinking, like, is it like a custom GPT where you upload everything into one location and then you can talk to everything that's in that folder, exclusive of anything extraneous, anything that from outside, right, from the World Wide Web?
Well, yes, and it's not only excluding everything that is extraneous, because actually there's a lot of data outside in the web that could end up being extremely useful. So you could ask a question about, oh, tell me more about this market. Tell me about the rent comps in this market that aren't potentially loaded within the deck, within the docs, and within the kind of deck back end. So yeah, that's definitely a direction that we're going in terms of adding the AI features to it. But I would say that more interesting, AI has been a fascinating thing for us, not only as a tool, but also as a revolution within the industry, right? It's the first time I've experienced. I mean, I'm still relatively young, but this is the first time I've experienced
Actually, your biggest advantage,
perhaps,
in a world full of ancient crones like me who remember pre-fax life, crying out loud.
Exactly. But it seems to be, it's the first time that I remember that a real tech revolution has made the real estate world notice, right? And folks like yourself and many other people, I mean, a lot of the people that you've interviewed in the past on this podcast, they're tapping into the AI revolution and how that can affect real estate. And I think for the first time, people are kind of open to, once again, there are technologies outside of what I used 25 years ago that can actually enhance my, operations or my investments, investor acquisition process and the like. And so we're not, I would say, a pure AI company, but we certainly are, riding the AI wave.
So where do you see all right, so look, I asked this question about by the way, I don't think there are any. There's very, very few pure AI companies,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
fair.
basically just leveraging the technology to improve processes and productivity in systems that already exist.
Sure.
The pure ones may be the LLMs,
Right.
I asked about chat. Are you able to chat with the set of docs? I mean, that's what I do all the time. Avi, seriously, I mean, I'll upload a bunch of docs. You know what's actually the most reassuring to me about life these days is I do get these emails loaded with PDFs and spreadsheets and all. I used to be really intimidated by them. Now, no problem. I'll upload them in toto to one of the LLMs and then just say, okay, using only the information in, I've got some questions. Here's what I want to know. And that just helps me screen these deals and screen whatever it is I'm looking at in super fast way. And then you can dive into it, right? All right, where did you find this reference, for example? I want to drill down, I want to see it. I also want to make sure it's not hallucinating as well and giving me something spurious, right? Which can often happen.
Yes.
So what is the direction you guys are heading in? Where do you think, what direction are you going in to grow the company?
Well, the direction is to wildly improve the investor acquisitions process and the touch point between investor and GP, right? The first step in that is to vastly improve the interface and just make deals centralized. Then kind of comes the next stage, which is making them streamlined, so kind of as I was talking about, like taking loads of information and making it concise in the kind of social media sense, where you have what I always say is if someone handed you 50 articles, 50 pieces of paper, 50 articles, you're going to kind of toss that in the bin probably quite quickly. You're not going to get through 50 articles, that's for sure. But you will scroll past 50 posts within 5 minutes on social media, because social media has this brilliant way of making information concise. And so that's kind of the model that we want to take, right? Is complex, high level information, make that concise, make that interesting. And then we're going to get to the really cool tools like AI, like a platform where people can it almost becomes a marketplace for kind of GPs and investors to be able to interact with one another. But for now, it's all about improving that touch point between GP and investor, making your deal stand out, making your deal super understandable, removing investor resistance, and
facilitating the process. I get it. So I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. Now, you've got to use your powers of descriptive powers, Avi, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share with you. We'll take a look, if you don't mind, at your sample deck.
I would love that.
Website, right? Let's take a look at that. Why don't you walk me through what it is, being descriptive, because some people are going to be some people will be listening and they won't be looking at a screen. Although I do strongly recommend you do this. Is just go to easywin.ai. You'll be able to see the video and follow through. But here we are. So I am now. I was on the.
I'll make a quick mention, Adam, if I can. That also people can go to PulseCRE.com and just click view sample.
And there it is. That's right. But of course, I'm trying to direct people to my way. Right. So I'm pulling your leg. But in all seriousness, though, that's why I always say that. I will put a link on the EasyWin website as well. So you get a nice backlink as well. All right, so here we are. This was when you get to the PulseCRE website.
To quote you from my comment section, he says, gently removing his tongue from his cheek.
Removing tongue from cheek.
Exactly. Oh, it was so good. I should have guessed you were English when you made that comment. I was just like, I like this.
That's guy. Right. Avi, just for those that haven't seen that post, what was it you wrote? You wrote this post on LinkedIn. It was hilarious. It said something like, can you remember? It was something like all investors need is a, what was it? They
Yeah,
don't even need a pitch deck.
exactly. I started with pitch deck. Pitch decks are a waste of time. All investors need is, what was it? Tell me how much money, tell them how much money and tell them, when you
Where
need
to
it.
wire it.
And where to
Exactly.
wire, exactly.
And so there were so many people that responded seriously.
Yeah.
Can't do that. And I said, hell yeah. All you need is offering documents and wiring instructions at a first meeting. What the heck? Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Exactly. I love that you got it. It was just wild to me that so few people got it.
All right. Anyway, so here we are. We went to PulseCRE.com, and top right, there's a button that says something like
View
sample
sample.
deck. So why don't you
Oh,
walk me
please.
through this puppy over here and be very descriptive for those that can't actually see it. I'll scan down.
Sure. I will mention even before I do that is that this is an extremely versatile piece of technology. And there are a lot of different ways that we can structure anything, right? So just because I'm describing it in a certain way, we've set this out as this sample deck was based on one that we had created, and we took out any kind of actual relevant information. So confidential, and half the stuff is made up and the numbers don't make any sense. So if people get confused by that, it's just because it's a sample. But it's extremely versatile piece of technology. So take everything with a kind of poetic license, if you will. So basically what we're looking at is the platform becomes quite immediately obvious, I think, in that there's a sidebar, there's kind of a top bar, if that's the word, right? That stays around the whole time while you're kind of navigating through this deck, which serves as your navigation capability, right? So you can click on the side, the word, if you click the asset, right, and it will go immediately to that section in the deck, right? So a simple concept of, simple and easy navigation, but obviously something that can prove to be extremely useful when you want to navigate something and look through information clearly and quickly. There's also a data room on the side over there. Those are all downloadable links. So you click one of those, and the document is now downloaded onto your computer right there and then. So that's all of the different documents. Obviously, I've just labeled them, doc 1, doc 2, but obviously they'll be labeled clearly and well. So then if you kind of go through the deck itself, there you go, sample deck. Okay, great. Go through the deck itself. So immediately what stands out, I think, on the first page is the ability to make a much more dynamic and kind of alive presentation, right? So what we've put over here is a gallery that's kind of automatically sliding between some pictures of the deal. You could put drone footage. You could put just a regular picture, but that has some sort of animation associated with it. So there are a bunch of different ways of immediately saying to your investor, this is more than just your typical deck that is two-dimensional. This is actually a really interesting three-dimensional experience that you're about to embark on. So then you move on, and you can see the contents, which also just gives you a sense of what you're about to see, and it's all clickable, and you can click through to specific areas if you like. The next box is a disclaimer, which uses this very simple scrolling technology that we've all seen and is not going to be something that blows people away. But if you think about what a PDF, OM does, it's not capable of doing that, which means that you can, you have an entire page that's your disclaimer. And that's just ridiculous. Over here, we have a little box. It could have, 5 pages worth of text, but it's all kind of concisely contained within this little box. And you'll see that as a pattern really throughout. And then, so with the executive summary, the same goes, and we have this kind of nice little animation that goes on the side to give you a sense of what you're reading.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I scan through this executive summary, as I scan down, there are various subheadings, and I can actually jump to those using the menu on the left by the looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's jumping a little hard, but
yeah,
it's okay.
It normally
Nice.
works.
Then you've got key numbers also with a scroll box.
Exactly, with a little bit of interactivity. A box to put in a video for a webinar. which if you just, you could play the video and you'll see it plays nicely in small, but then you can expand it, of course, if you want as well. This is obviously not a real video, but it's just a placeholder. Maps are, your typical Google Maps that you can interact with as you would on Google Maps. And then you get to kind of essentially more of this concise, consolidated information. This would take, if you think about what these 4 boxes in the about the asset section, right, which are details, amenities, floor plans, and 360 tour. Obviously, 360 tour is not something that you can put into a regular OM. But if you were to have those in your regular deck, that's taking up, a good 4 or 5 pages worth of brain space, really. That investor just doesn't have. The bandwidth that investors need in order to
make a decision,
absorb information. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just down to
then we have this section, why we love Palm Beach, because that is the location of this sample deal. And then on the right, you've got market amenities, with off-site links.
Exactly. So those would link to all of and the thing we just put in there is largest employers in Palm Beach and entertainment and leisure. Of course, your information would go in there. You can choose whatever information you want. But yeah, we can link to everything and anything that's across the internet, such that people can basically dig in and do as much due diligence from the deck as they possibly want.
And here you have the financials and etc. Hey, listen, so I am going to come back to this.
Yeah.
I'll ask you. So this is a podcast. So you're just going to have to let me challenge you a little bit.
Sure.
So we've got this great page, all right? And we actually, it's really nice the way it's laid out. It is I'm just going to use this term. Sorry if not one that you use, but it's like a deal room on the web, but with really easy access, and it's really easy to navigate. You can see all the documents, everything's in one place. You can jump around this thing. It's very fast. However, why wouldn't you, as the next step, because basically you've put all of this data, it is all housed in one little package.
Yeah.
Why don't you put a little window on here that says what you want to know about this deal and let somebody chat? You've got all this stuff. So I've still got to scan through it. I am challenging you, you don't mind that. And then you've got all these documents, which this is where the heavyweight nonsense is, right? You've got the offering docs, that's 120-page document. You've got the subscription agreement, the operating agreement. Maybe you've got an appraisal. Who knows what's in there, right? So you've got a lot of really heavy documents. Why wouldn't you? Is it that difficult to put a little chat thing here that says, okay, what do you want to ask me anything about this deal?
You make a very, very good point, Adam. And the answer is it's not that difficult, and we're doing it. We're working on it. I don't know when it'll be ready, so I don't want to make any promises, but we are working on that. We also, we want to make sure that it's not something that, as you say, hallucinates. It's not something that makes up stuff. We definitely don't want people investing, based on wrong information that some sort of GPT or LLM has decided to be the case. So we do need to be a little bit careful. Obviously there'll be disclaimers and stuff that we can use to get around, but we want to make sure that it's good before we release it. We've spent, what you're seeing there looks like it could be, it might look very simple. That's 10 months of work, very much in the making, and we're still very much building it out. We have an entire back end that we're in the process of building, which works as a kind of back office for GPs to be able to understand what's happening with their deal. So the platformization takes a whole new level on the back end where GPs can see who's seen their deal, how much time they spent on the deal, proper data analytics, as well as user management.
Interesting.
To enable.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And so is this a self-service? Avi, is this a self-service platform? Or in other words, are you setting it up that somebody can log it like a SaaS platform, software as a service, where you somebody can log in and just like drag and drop stuff and it builds itself? Or are you manually doing this for clients at the moment?
Right now, we're manually doing it for clients. We're quite bespoke in as much as kind of with my real estate expertise, I help people actually put together the decks and the information, which is why it ends up being a bit more boutique and bespoke in that regard. But we are, you know, with kind of the next update, we're building out a much more sophisticated piece of technology, which will enable people to, which will make it into a SaaS product. At the beginning, it will be a kind of a pure hybrid between SaaS and service. Right now, it's fully service, right? It will become hybrid between SaaS and service, and we'll work our way more and more towards it being a pure SaaS company with a service as maybe a side thing.
So who is your, I was going to ask you what your biggest challenge is, but before I ask that, who is your primary target? Who's your client or customer avatar today?
Great question. The answer to that is the people that I was working with before, because I just saw this problem as a daily thing. It just seems like the very kind of clear target audience, and that's like mid-sized GPs, right? So people doing real estate deals anywhere from, I don't know, 5-10 million through 100 or a couple hundred million. Those kind of mid-sized GPs, the people who have who are relatively nimble and agile in terms of their work process and want to get ahead, need to appeal to new investors. As you know, everyone needs to appeal to new investors all the time, but you know, maybe we're not touching the Blackstones of the world quite yet. But yeah, mid-sized GPs, people who recognize the value and willing to pay for it, but also are agile and nimble in terms of their workflows. And our next step actually probably isn't the other folks in real estate. It might actually be you know, other folks in other private investment industries. So there are a lot of different applications to a technology that can present, you know, complex information simply.
In this way.
Yeah,
and what are the biggest challenges you face at the moment, Avi? My last question before my 3 last questions.
Okay. Biggest challenges we face. I mean, look, we're a young startup. We're quite new. Every day is a roller coaster in a good way. Thank God we're really gathering momentum. You know, we're raising investment right now ourselves. You know, so that obviously kind of comes with its just workload and you know, just monumental number of conversations with different people. And yeah, you know, managing our own workflows, you know, making sure that we give each of our clients a really, really high level of service, which is the goal, right? For us right now is give the clients incredible service, you know, make sure that they are beyond delighted with what we provide, and that they realize that this is a 10x over what they would have received from a graphic designer or from what they've been kind of used to doing on there in terms of.
All right. So before we leave the podcast today, yes, I'm going to let the video run. I'm going to ask you some questions and I'm going to show you something. Okay. And it is entirely up to you whether or not I delete that. That's the point of edit, is after I say thank you and goodbye, and then we have a postscript. All right. Okay. So listeners and viewers, there may or may not be a little bit of something else at the end. We'll see in a minute. But let me ask you 3 sign-off questions.
Yeah.
First of all, why should commercial real estate professionals be paying attention to AI today?
Because AI is the future. AI is going to make every workload, every aspect of kind of doing your work in a productive way more productive. And you know, it's a productivity tool, it's a productivity hack, and it just seems like the same way that people had to be on the internet, you know, eventually in the early 2000s, everyone has to be utilizing AI in one way or another. If they don't, they're just going to fall behind.
Right. So how do you use AI daily? Like what are your go-to tools?
Yeah, so we use AI for exactly that. Obviously, we're using ChatGPT a lot, you know, to consolidate information. ChatGPT is excellent at creating workflows itself, and kind of, you know, you have a task that you want to achieve and you're not quite sure how you can break down, you know, getting to that point. ChatGPT is fantastic for that. So that kind of works on many different levels, from kind of just internal stuff all the way through to building out decks and making our workflows smooth and really good, all the way through to, you know, kind of basic language model stuff, and making sure that language is sharp, all the way through to coding, and as a coding copilot, and I guess finally, as you've been mentioning a few times throughout the program, we're in the process of integrating it into the deck itself, into our product itself, and making sure that, you know, we can help GPs utilize AI as a tool through our product. I mean, it would be amazing. It would be amazing if we can get that.
All right, that's where I'm going to go in the postscript in a minute. We'll chat about that. All right, an easy win. You did ask me, and I did send you. I don't normally send it, but I did say so for listeners and viewers. When they hang up and they listen to your last words now, what could they do that will just throw a light bulb on above their head? Like, wow, I had no idea I could do that. That is so easy and amazing. What would you recommend?
So I kind of came up with two things. One's more general, one's more specific. The more general one is treat your investors like customers. And I think, having been in the position where people were sharing, you know, as an investment broker, people don't. You know, there's gazillions of dollars spent on customer acquisition every year. You know, companies are incredible at acquiring customers. Real estate folks and other such folks need to treat investors like customers and recognize that investors are people too. And so the kind of easy win piece of that is do something that's going to make your investor's life easier. Do something that's going to make your investor say, ooh, you know, shiny, you know, or whatever, like something that
how do you use AI to do that? That was
so the way to use AI to do that, the little tool that we use, which we think is super cool, is this image upscaler, which you can find. I mean, we kind of use Canva as a way of getting to that, but I'm sure there are different tools out there for image upscaling, just to make any picture that you have, whether it be a picture of yourself, whether it be a picture of you know, a scene in the kind of general market, or even if you have anything less than like fully professional pictures of the site or of the asset.
Oh, interesting.
Upscale that, it kind of feeds back into that previous point where you can have investors just say, okay, that looks really professional, and AI does this beautiful job of just taking, you know, blemishes out and you know, making a picture just look.
That's cool.
Much more
an image upscaler, and Canva will do that, will it?
Canva will do that. Yeah. Canva has. I mean, you might have to have Canva Pro. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my team uses Canva all the time, so I've become lazy and don't really look at it because they just do amazing things with it. I didn't realize. I know they've got a lot of AI interwoven. You said there was a second thing.
Those are the two things. So the two things are the kind of general delight your investor, treat your investor like a customer, and make sure that you are giving them the best experience you possibly can. Image upscaling is an example of that, but there are many others. Using PulseCRE, for example.
Well, exactly. Right, now I'm going to ask you something. I'm totally serious about this. Look, so this thing that you built here is very cool.
Yeah.
And it definitely is nice. I'm just going to tell you right now, we build things similar. I hate to do this to you. And that's why I think that the game changer. Here, let me just share screen again. So now you're looking at your demo thing here again, right? I hope. Yeah, right. So I'll show you one of these deals that here's a deal that we did. All right, so we built this page.
Yeah.
Which is kind of similar. You know, it's got this floating join wait list thing. It actually said invest now. And it's similar in some regards. You've got tabs, you know, and it's similar in some regards. But what would fundamentally change this? I mean, it just does. I'm not an expert really at anything, but it seems to me that if you've got all of these documents housed in one repository, it would be really easy to just drop, you know, a simple chatbot on top of that and say, only referring to this, answer questions. Why would you not jump that? I mean, I tell you something, just see what you've done and the way you presented it
Yeah,
in the context of AI and what, that's the kind of the main topic here. Seems to me that's,
obvious next step.
yeah, obvious first step between you
Obvious
and me.
first. Okay, no, I definitely hear that. I mean, look, it's something that we've thought about a lot, and as I say, it's something that we're kind of in the process of implementing. I would say the only reason that we haven't implemented it yet is because there's just other things that have taken priority. It's possible that we should bump that up the priority list. I can't argue with that really. I think you're right. On the point that you guys are doing something very similar. Yeah, first of all, crowdfunding sites in general have a much better game than your typical syndicator, your typical GP,
Right.
when they're sending to investors, just kind of, just throwing it in at random investors. So part of the idea is to kind of bring that type of technology to people who are not investing through a crowdfunding site themselves. It's taking that, what crowdfunding sites have done pretty well is actually tapped into this issue, which is, treating investors as customers, right? Crowdfunding sites, their customers are the investors. They're really trying desperately to attract investors. So they kind of up their game a little bit. Syndicators themselves have a harder time doing that, which is why we're basically saying, we'll do that for you, right? You don't have to use a specific crowdfunding site. You don't have to lock yourself into their terms and their game. Or even though there might be a lot of value there, you could send to your own regular investors, utilizing a technology that kind of looks a little and feels a little bit like this. But of course, it works independently, and it has all these different features. And
what is your pricing model? He asked boldly, because it's not on the website.
No, that's a great question. We have a different price for different customers, based on a couple of different things, but mainly how much information they're wanting to give us, how much they want us to work with them. There are a few different pricing models. We do per deck. Bless you. We do per
what?
deal.
Per what? Per deal.
We do per deal. We do a subscription, and we also do a kind of, and this works more for the brokerages we work with. Bless you. But we'll kind of do an upfront cost where we create a template, and then and we'll have a retainer such that they can basically just send us any information for a specific deal. We understand the layout with them. We've created a layout with them already. So they just send us the information essentially packaged, and we just plonk it in there, and send it back to them. There are a few different pricing models. We work with every customer. It's a very bespoke service right now.
Avi, do you consider yourself a techie? Do you do the coding and programming, or do you hire people to do it? Is that your partner?
Yeah, so I don't consider myself a techie, but I do all the coding. I do a lot of the coding. So I guess in some ways I am a techie. I have a good sense of, I come at it more from a design perspective. I'm more of a designer than I am a tech guy. The tech kind of complements the design. The reason I have a partner who's building out who's a real tech guy, and he has a whole team working underneath him, is because they're building out this kind of next level software. As when you reference the SaaS product, that needs really sophisticated.
There's a lot of heavy lifting with that. Yeah, it's not so easy, and it has the user experience has to be super easy, and it's not easy. I get it. Avi Solomon, PulseCRE founder and CEO. Thanks so much for joining me today on the show.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, that was Avi Solomon, founder and CEO at PulseCRE. Avi, thanks so much for joining me. It's a real pleasure to meet you and to talk to you. And thank you for actually letting me include at least part of that postscript that we chatted about afterwards, and also for the additional chat that we had. It's a real pleasure meeting you. I appreciate the time you spent with me today, and I love your sense of humor. Can't wait to see more of your LinkedIn posts, all right? Tongue-in-cheek or otherwise. And thank you to dear viewers for joining us today. If you have not yet signed up for the EasyWin.ai newsletter, just go to EasyWin.ai and sign up there. It's totally free, comes out regularly, and is packed with easy wins, right? Ways to use AI in your daily CRE life or daily real estate life. how-tos and tips and tactics and strategies and stuff that we're discovering, and importantly, testing to make sure it works. All that at easywin.ai. All right, that's it. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me today. And until next time, this is Adam Gower signing off.